All right, hockey fans, welcome to another edition of Snapshots, a hockey development podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Mr. Lemon Stick Wax, a hand-poured, American-made stick wax. The great right grip, tact, and feel for your game. Remember to use Mr. Lemon Stick Wax, grip it and rip it. And also brought to you by the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Join a huddle today. Check out us on the interweb at Fellowship of Christian Athletes. There's huddles in nearly every state, town, and community to be a part of today. This is Andrew Trimble. I'm bringing you forth a new episode. This comes out every single Tuesday at 8 a.m. on Spotify. Our episode this week is about none other than kids' diets for hockey players. You got a developing athlete, what they put into their body is the energy they're going to expel out. So make sure you're putting the right things in your body. Now, first topic, okay? Kids don't need a perfect diet to play well, but their eating habits directly affect their energy focus, recovery, and mood. I think those actually, the obvious ones are energy and recovery, but focus matters too, right? If you're putting a ton of sugar in your body or some of these crazy dyes that are allowed here in the United States, I see with my son all the time that his attention of detail and his focus and his ability to listen to the coach is greatly affected by just what he's rehydrating with instead of water or like a sports drink. Many young athletes arrive at practice underfueled, especially if you're coming right after school. Not because families don't care. I know families are busy. Sure, certainly I'm busy when I take Bear to places, but it's important you get something in their body to get them going again. Now, why do eating habits matter? Energy during practice and games, your concentration, decision-making, recovery, okay, growth and physical development. You got to be eating the right kinds of foods if you want to grow and develop your muscles and your strength. Mood, patience, confidence, sleep quality, and injury resilience. A tired or unfocused player may not always have the effort problem. Sometimes the player simply hasn't eaten or hydrated properly. Now, one of the biggest things I tell kids is habits and consistency. Those make a big difference. Yeah, you can eat one salad one day of the week, but if you eat junk the rest of the week, it washes out the benefits of that salad. So eat regular meals instead of skipping lunch or skipping breakfast. Kids should have just the right nutrition throughout the day to sustain that energy. Avoid waiting till your kid is starving. As my dad used to say, like a starving Ethiopian. Keep easy options available for busy days. I found this certainly the first year my son Bear and I were traveling down to the Seacoast. Now, the Seacoast Spartans is a great program. I was very privileged to be a part of that organization. Has fantastic coaches, facilities, but the commute for Barron was really a struggle. And we would get on the I-93 South, and all of a sudden, coming right after school, he hits that 345 wall, and we still got a half an hour to go before he's on the ice, and he'd be like, "Dad, I'm so hungry." Oh, you stop at a gas station, you stop somewhere else. And that's the easiest ingredient to get garbage in his body. So we had to rectify that. I did the best I could. I know all parents, certainly myself, we're not perfect, but we do the best we can. Consistency over time matters more than creating one perfect pregame meal. Now, what should be on your plate? Here's some suggestions. Carbohydrates. These are a good source of energy. Stuff like fruit, rice, pasta, potatoes, the right kinds of breads. Avoid those really complex carbohydrates like overly processed versions of those things. Fruit and rice, those are great. Protein. I see a lot of kids not eating enough protein. My niece Allie, I remember when I used to babysit when I was, like 22, 23 years old sometimes. And she was a youngster, and she everything had to be like white on her plate. She couldn't have any color. And it was just like this version of noodles with the other version of noodles with butter. And that was it, right? You got to have protein, eggs, chicken, turkey, fish, yogurt, drink milk, beans, things like that. Fruits and vegetables. These provide your vitamins, minerals, and for a healthy digestive system, your fiber. And then if it has fat in it, doesn't mean it's bad. Healthy fats are important. When we were carnivores living in caves, we ate fats from animals. So support growth and overall health with uh, certain fish, avocados. Those are great sources of healthy fats. And then fluids. This is a great thing I've seen over the last 5 or 6 years, really since post-COVID, is everybody brings water. Everybody brings a water bottle to school, and it's not uncool to have a water bottle. So I think that's a really positive trend I've seen. Doesn't matter the container it's in, just as long as you have that water. Now, before practices and games, a full meal is generally best served just a few hours before the activity. If time is limited, offer a small snack closer to the session, maybe something that they can have in between periods as well. Stuff like turkey sandwiches with a little fruit, pasta with chicken, rice bowl with some protein, maybe a bagel with some toast, bananas and peanut butter. Those are a great ones. Yogurt with granola in it. That's a great one. Oatmeal with some fruit. Avoid unfamiliar foods before competition. You don't want an upset stomach. Eating after hockey, your post-game recovery or post-practice recovery. Chocolate milk is super, a super way to rehydrate. I remember learning from Oktay Armageddon back in 2010. We were coaching the Trenton Habs, a junior team that was in the IJHL and later became in the NA3. He was a big advocate for chocolate milk. That right mixture of fiber, protein, and a little bit of healthy fats. Those are good for you. Post game, consider that yogurt with fruit or a smoothie, with good ingredients, fruit and yogurt. Even some leftovers from the previous dinner stuff if you've had a nice healthy meal the night before. Post game meal does not need to be fancy. You don't have to go to a 5-star restaurant and have a 3-course meal. It can just be a combination of carbohydrates, protein, and fluids. That's a good starting point. Now, hydration habits. Hydration begins well before arriving to the rink. You can't just chug a gallon of water the moment you're about to take the ice. Hydration is throughout the day. That sustains that energy and nourishes your body. Make sure your water bottle is labeled, kids. I've seen more lost water bottles than anything else I've ever seen. Label your water bottle. Everybody's got kind of the same looking water bottle, so just put your name on it, a magic marker or tape, and make sure you have it for your session. But it's okay to share your water bottle with somebody. If you're squirting it the right way into your mouth, it's really not spreading germs. It's just spreading water, which is fine. Sports drinks can be useful during long, intense sessions, but ordinary practices, they're not a requirement. Energy drinks are not appropriate for young athletes. I had a post I did with Barron and about Monster Energy. Now, nothing against the company Monster. They sponsor some great things, and obviously people like their product. But I only see landscapers, roofers, and sometimes 10-year-old hockey players drinking Monsters. Let's make sure if you need a little pep in your step, you can get some fruit, which has some natural sugars or things like that, which have a healthy reward for you. Weekend tournaments. I see this all the time. You have these long 3 or 4 or 5 game weekends. You don't know how long it's going to last. Starts on Friday, but could go all the way deep into Sunday. So it's important to pack properly for that weekend. If you do every meal on the road, it can get expensive, and you could be putting the wrong things in your body. I remember Declan House and his family, when they were traveling from New Jersey, they would come up here to Laconia, and they would take part in my camps or different things like that. And they would always really prepare their meals, and it was a great way for Declan to stay healthy. And Declan went on to be a great player for our Wolves program here, was a captain in college at Keene State, and then eventually played pro hockey. So he had a good structure that helped him along that path. Make sure you pack plenty of water, plenty of fruit, yogurt, snacks that are easy to eat, easy on the stomach, and give you proper nutrition. The goal is preparation, but not perfection. One restaurant meal or team pizza night, that's not going to ruin your weekend. It can be fun. It could be the highlight of the whole trip, hanging out with your friends. But if every meal is the same thing, that kind of nutrition, you could find yourself on Sunday really struggling to get out of bed. Parents, it's your responsibility to set the environment. You're the adults in the room. Keep useful foods available without just having to lecture kids. Balanced diets are the right diets. Avoid leaving things good or bad. Funny story about this. When I was a kid, my dad was like a football player, and he was a power lifter in addition to being a coach and a teacher. and he had very strong opinions about certain vegetables. And I remember being, because I wanted to be like my dad, I remember thinking like, oh, if he doesn't like broccoli, that must mean it's terrible. And then I got out of the house and I tried broccoli, and man, I think that's my favorite vegetable. I also like lima beans, Mom. That was a I never really tried lima beans, but I think they're pretty tasty. And Brussels sprouts, oh my goodness! If you give me some Brussels sprouts, I could eat those for days. I could eat those with every meal, I think. Coaches, you have a role too. Advocate for your kids to fuel properly. Set a good example, coaches. If you want your kids to be in shape, let's make sure we set the example. Not everybody's perfect, but you try to do the right things. Don't go on the bench with your Monsters energy drinks if you don't want your kids to have them either. Refer families to qualified professionals instead of prescribing strict diets, and definitely with supplements too. Common mistakes I see with a lot of kids is those energy drinks, enormous meals before they're about to take part in activities. I see junior players sometimes, really heavily get involved with supplements. Uh, Turning food into a reward, like, oh, we'll get McDonald's if you score a goal today. That shouldn't be the reward. Think about some other ways you can reward your child without making it food focused. And 5 simple takeaways: eat regular meals, pack a pregame or pre-hockey snack, drink water throughout the day, eat carbohydrates and protein, build healthy habits without creating fear, shame, or obsession around food. Closing message: young hockey players do not need a complicated meal plan. They need consistent access to food, dependable routines, hydration, and adults who promote a healthy relationship with eating. If a child has allergies, medical concerns, significant weight changes, persistent fatigue, or restrictive eating behaviors, parents should consult a pediatrician or registered dietitian. Thanks for tuning in, hockey fans. I love bringing this podcast to you each and every week. Make sure you like and subscribe on Spotify or check out some of my other content. Every Friday, I have my Snapshots hockey show available on YouTube. You can look up Scoring Concepts on YouTube, like and subscribe there. You can also check me out on Substack, the Hockey Development Hub, or check out some of my websites. Wolves website, ne-wolveshockey.com, scoringconcepts.com, or the AI Hockey Advisor. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your week and keep on ripping pucks.